Hi everyone, okay, this is Evgeny Sveshnikov against Ruslan Scherbakov, which was played at the USSR Championships at Moscow in 1991. Sveshnikov is a very strong Latvian GM, famous for the work he did on the Sveshnikov variation of the Sicilian defense. Scherbakov is an equally strong Russian grandmaster. So anyway, Sveshnikov was white and he opened with e4. And after c5, knight f3, knight c6 and bishop b5, the game went into the Rossolimo variation of the Sicilian defense, which is also sometimes called colloquially the limousine attack. And it's an interesting way to meet the Sicilian, and I've had some success with it myself. So Scherbakov played e6, and then white castled, knight g7, c3, a6, bishop a4, b5, bishop c2, and d5. Which is one of the two most popular continuations at this point, the other one being bishop b7. They're both equally good and equally strong. So then Sveshnikov played e5, and here he's threatening to play d4 on his next move and reach a position that would be similar to the French defense, but one that would favor him, as his pawn on d4 would be well supported, and Scherbakov wanted to avoid this, so he played d4 himself, which is okay, but it gives white the e4 square for his bishop, and that's what he played in the game with bishop e4. And then came bishop b7, which is really a routine developing move, and you know, sometimes in the opening you just want to develop your pieces and you miss sometimes things that could have been stronger. Like there was a continuation here that was better. Similarly d3, which would seal in white's queenside pieces and cause a few problems, would have been stronger, but he missed that. And he played bishop e7, and Sveshnikov played a4. And then came knight g6, which is trying to pressurize the white pawn on e5, which is cramping black's game quite badly. So then came a takes b5, a takes b5, rook takes a8, and bishop takes a8, which is the right way to recapture there. If queen takes a8 instead, then comes queen e2, which is threatening the pawn on b5, so if b4, which is really the best way to deal with that, but then queen b5, and it's very awkward for black to break the pin on the c6 knight. Like if the knight ever moves, then this bishop's falling, so it's hard to do, and meanwhile it's pinned to the king as well, so it's going to take a while for black to deal with that, and it's just very awkward, so it's much better here to recapture with the bishop. And then came knight a3 from Sveshnikov, which is again aiming for the b5 pawn, and here Scherbakov played knight a7, which is really a passive way of defending it and relieves the pressure that was on the white's e5 pawn. Like a better continuation here would have been knight c takes e5, and after, for example, bishop takes a8, queen takes a8, knight takes e5, knight takes e5, c takes d4, c takes d4, knight takes b5, queen c6 attacking the knight, so knight takes d4 and queen c4, and then knight f3 because the knight's attacked again, and knight d3. And here black would have good enough compensation for the pawn, as it will take white a while to free his pieces, and in the meantime he can finish developing and apply pressure to the white position. So it would have been better and much more active way to continue than simply knight a7, because now the knight is totally out of the game on a7, and this yeah, just very passive. So anyway, Sveshnikov played bishop takes a8, and after queen takes a8, queen b3, which is in fact not the strongest continuation. Like better here would have been c takes d4, and after c takes d4 then queen b3. It's a more accurate way of playing, as it prevents the strongest defense available to black in the game. But anyway, after queen b3, queen b7 was played, and this misses the better way to defend, which instead of playing queen b3 would have been c4. And here the best continuation for white is knight takes c4, and after bishop takes c4, queen a4 check, queen c6, and it gives the material back, but it's the best way to meet the check. After queen takes a7, bishop c5, queen a2, d3, and again black has good enough compensation for the pawn, And if Sveshnikov had exchanged first of all at this stage, instead of playing queen b3, if he played c takes d4 and after c takes d4 queen b3, that defense wouldn't have been available to black. So that's why it was more accurate to exchange on d4 before playing queen b3. So Scherbakov missed that good defense anyway and played queen b7 instead. So then came c takes d4, c takes d4, knight takes d4, bishop takes a3, b takes a3, which liberates the bishop here. That's why it's best to capture with the pawn and not the queen. And knight takes e5, bishop b2, and knight c4, which is really the best move in the position. Like here you might think it looks alright for black to castle, should be okay, but it's far from okay, because after castling there's knight takes e6, and if f takes e6, then queen takes e6 wins back the material and 2 pawns of interests. So say knight f3 check, just to do some structural damage, but even after g takes f3, f takes e6, queen takes e6 check, king h8, queen e4, and there's a winning advantage for white in this position. So knight c4 is the best move. And here Sveshnikov played queen g3 with latent threats on g7 from the queen and the bishop if black were to castle now, which he does do here, just castling. And Sveshnikov had laid a little trap here with the bishop because it was hanging before black castled, and if he takes it, then queen takes g7 is very strong. The rook's attacked and has to move. The only square for it to save itself is rook f8, and then will come knight takes e6, and this pawn can't recapture because then the queen is hanging. Meanwhile, white has an absolutely crushing attack. Moves like rook e1 coming up, and this rook's hanging. As the Fritz gives over 4 points of material advantage, so it's a nice trap from Sveshnikov, but Scherbakov didn't fall for it anyway. He simply castled, and then Sveshnikov played bishop c3, just preserving his bishop. And then Scherbakov played g6, which was, just trying to deal with the threats on g7, but it was really a blunder, and now his position is more or less lost. Like, the best chance for defending at this stage was queen b8, after queen g5, h6, queen g4, knight e5, queen e4. White would still have a slight advantage, but black can play on fairly easily, and it's nothing too serious. But he missed that, and he effectively blundered with g6, because then came d3, and a3 pawn is hanging, but it's yet another trap from Sveshnikov. If knight takes a3, then queen d6 wins the knight. There's no way to defend it. So after d3 came knight b6, and then queen e5 with strong threats now. So Scherbakov tried to counter with knight d7, attacking the queen, and here Sveshnikov won the game in a single move, and it's the only move that leads to a force mate. And if you want to try and spot it, then stop the video now. Okay, what he played was the incredible queen g7 check, and here Scherbakov resigned because he only has one move, which of course is king takes g7, but then will come knight to f5, double check from the knight and the bishop, and then the king would only have one square, which is g8, and after that either knight to h6 or knight to e7 is mate. So a brilliant game from Sveshnikov. I'll replay it with the threatened squares highlighted just so you can see it from start to finish. It was the limousine attack variation of the Sicilian defense, and yeah, led to some sharp lines, as you saw there. and a couple of nice traps along the way from Sveshnikov as well. It's well, it's always good if you can set them. Sometimes they're very effective. I mean, if Scherbakov had fallen into them there, it would have been, would have lost the game. So it's a brilliant play from Sveshnikov, and there's a brilliant final move. Okay, that's it. I hope you enjoyed that. Please leave any comments or thoughts. Thanks very much.